Hello guys. We have book one here with okay, careful with the cover with Kryon. See, what Kryon told me to do is that he had set me on this task of figuring out. He told me this a few days ago too, but he really got insistent about it today and said go get the book, read all of it that you can read, where I talk about implants. And there's actually I wish I just had it here. There's a part in here where he says the implants are restrictors of your soul's communication, and I'm like, yeah, you told me that they scramble messages from your soul, that you told me that's what they're intended for, basically to scramble the messages from your soul so that you can be controlled. But I would like to record a message to Thomas Farrow. Tom, you're the guy who gave me this book, and if I hadn't had this book, I could not have survived. Now, I wrote a note on the book. Funny thing, I wrote the note on the front of this book knowing that you were not actually going to possess the book again, because I knew that I was going to walk out of there like Paul walking out of prison. And you are very familiar with the Bible. You're very devout, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. And that was just like what it was, like Paul walking out of prison magically. So while I was in prison, magically, Tom, your address, but not your real address, so I can actually read it, a P.O. box in Island Pond, Vermont, even though you live in Newport, Vermont, where I was. You live in Newport, on the richer side of the river that no one can pronounce, who doesn't live there. And so your name appeared on there when I was the reptilian compound, and I thought, oh wow, you were in on this? That's really a shame, because I saved your friend's life. And then I thought, wait, but when I read this book, you see, when I was in your mom's room, and she is in that room, and she's like pissy, kind of, she is in the room, when I was reading this book in your mom's room, I noticed some different things. I noticed the whole implant thing, and I thought, Kryon, this sounds totally wrong, because I came from reading the advanced version, like the awesome advanced DNA version, which is Kryon sounding totally different. So Tom here, he made a comment, not on the book, but he made a comment to me. You made a comment to me, Tom, about me reading this when all of you were stealing from me. I didn't, I guess, know it exactly, that you were deliberately doing stuff to me, but yeah, and at least most of you knew about your water and things, but it seems like things might have been far worse than I'd actually thought there, and that perhaps that's why I was, quote, sent up there, and that's why it made no sense that I was there, because I was simply there to be fucked with, apparently. See, you had on here, give this book to Lynn at first. You had written on that, or show this book to Lynn, and you erased it and wrote over it. You wrote over it your name on there, an address to be sent back to you, and you also wrote like what printing it was of it and everything, so you could sell it. No, but when I was in the what you would call the prison, which was like a hospital room, but it was technically like a prison. Dear Tom, remember that a high frequency disables most implants. And Kryon told me, go read what you wrote in the front of the book, and I could not remember what I'd written in the front of the book, and he's got me on this task of figuring out the implant thing. So, dear Tom, remember that a high frequency disables most implants. And this is funny. Kind of those, you guys, you had like herpes simplex 3 or something, and Bridget deliberately gave it to me. Yes, she knows she did, so, yeah. I cured the herpes 3 as well, and then I survived, underlined, because of this book, in tandem with book 12. Kryon thanks you. He does, though he will not reveal to what unfortunate degree you were involved in the plot. Know that your mind can do anything, Tom. Anything. You love that girl. Your mind can do anything. Just your presence there helps her. Or I would not be alive to prove it to you. I would not be alive to prove that to you, were it not true. Much love, Krista E. Hauer. And so after I saw that, your name written there, I crossed it out and I wrote, given to Krista E. Hauer in Newport, Vermont by Tom Farrow. Because just like, no, then I learned just to start ignoring anything I saw randomly written in the book, and found it very interesting and also somewhat confirming of what had happened, that no one could touch the 12th book. Why is everyone writing on book 1 but they cannot touch book 12? And I actually say they cannot touch book 12 and they still just can't, no one does anything to book 12. And Kryon says basically because it's too hard for them to. It's too much angelicness to do it. It's too hard. That's why they have to rely on, exposing the book to something to make the pictures look all screwed up, to make you think that Kryon was evil when she's not. And it's definitely on our side. You made a comment at one point. This is a short video. Comment at one point where you said, not everything is in that book. And yeah, I knew that. And I figured it out. So just so you know, the person that you love can likely be helped if she hasn't totally gone back in the direction that she did. The extent to which she was dealing with anybody, I'm talking about any provider, would have a seriously hard time. Most would not have given her the time of day. Most would have literally just said, no, I'm not even going to do it, or given up, or whatever. I was probably the only person in the entire United States who would have done that, so you need to understand that. And I do that, and you're trying to murder me. but thank you. I'm saying thank you because Kryon says thank Tom, because you said you were going to thank Tom somehow, or call him or something, but I can't because your number doesn't work. Kryon said, thank Tom for saying you have a Kryon book, have this. Oh, and I don't know if this happened at random. I could have sworn, see, I did not try to take the Kryon, parable of, you had a thing there. It was a parable of the infant's questions. And it almost randomly appeared in my house, is what it seemed like, in a book that I could have sworn it was not in. Or I didn't recall bringing that home at all because it was a piece of paper. I couldn't store it anywhere. And so I actually felt bad, thinking, I wish I'd asked if I could have taken that or something. And it randomly appeared in my house. I don't know if it's still randomly in my house, but if it is or isn't, it doesn't matter. I've, read it, enough times to know what it says, so whether I have it or not doesn't matter. So if you're wondering where did that go, I think Kryon moved it, because I didn't do it, I swear I didn't do it. So I don't know who moved that, but it's somebody moved that. It might have been you who moved that, I don't know, but yes, he thanks you very, very much for everything, because without the the key code stuff in book 1, I don't know if I would have stood a chance with what was going on. He has a whole section in that book that's about the whole the whole elemental death code thing. Except he doesn't say elemental death code. He just he says like a key, and it's like you can sense it's like a code of some type. So you're dearly loved, whatever you're doing. Also, the narcolepsy. See, when you read this book originally, you were not the same. I could see that. That was one of the things I was trying to say. When I first read this book in your mom's room, I could see that you were not the same man when you were giving it to me. The man who gave it to me was beaten up, downtrodden, had his heart broken, was being used by somebody basically, and the thing is she does not love you back in the same way. She doesn't love you back in the same way, and she's just gonna kind of use you. Oh, I can actually tell you this for a fact. You were gone, and I asked her, "Oh, what did you do?" And she said, "I walked. Oh, I went and walked the dog, or I went outside, walked the dog, and there was this guy that I've noticed, and basically, mentioned like kind of flirting with the guy, or like waving, and he waved back, and then she was like, oh, how happy." I could sense the whole time. It's like she doesn't care for you in the same way. But see, you're being manipulated magnetically, seriously magnetically manipulated, which is why Kryon got himself to you, and why you ended up with the first book. You see, the things that you were writing in this book, and like the things about nuclear energy, all kinds of that stuff, or what's this EMI? I need to look all this stuff up. I was reading this and thinking, with all the original things that you wrote in here, not all the stupid stuff that people are written, but the original stuff that you'd written in here, I thought, wow, this guy's really a genius. What happened? What happened to that Tom who was reading this, who was a scientist? What happened? And what happened is your area got completely frequency magnetically attacked. I mean, really bad. Why? Because you know what happened over there, and the police over there can have their heyday, changing their phone numbers or whatever, because they're too afraid to talk to me, because they know that they are part of a plot, that they were part of a plot to cause direct harm to me. And when it's the police trying to hurt you, then that's when things get really dicey, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, I've had the same issue here with the police department here now. You see, obviously before all of this, you were aware, because you gave me the book, you were probably aware or foggily aware of something going on, or you became aware later, if you weren't. But the police department here, so I used to pretty much be friends with all the police here. I wouldn't recognize them, but I would always be very much friendly with the police. And the town changed practically overnight. But with these, with those two books, with the one book that you gave me, and then the one that I got myself, those were the two main things that allowed me to, help do what I did on August 20th. And me and Kryon would really, really like to thank you for your service in this regard. You've done something amazing for your planet. You did something very amazing. Even though you might have been trying to kill the person, you did something very, very much amazing. But your thought patterns are being scrambled a lot, and that's why they're like the narcolepsy, all this stuff. It's like you're like you're being used as a slave. By now you're probably aware, if you weren't aware already, but you're being targeted as a slave because, see, you got the Kryon book so early like that. You were perceived as a threat inside the Matrix, and so they tried to target you. So I can't be mad at you for like giving me stuff and then trying to kill me with it, because you were targeted for being too smart, and they tried to disable you. So I know that smart mind is still in there. All those books that you have in your room, all of that smart mind is there. But don't be a stupid type 6 and just let people walk on you. That's dumb, and I know another type 6 chemist who would do that constantly. That perpetuates, he's also enslaved, so that also perpetuates the enslavement. letting yourself get smacked by people. See, I have 6 as a wing type, so I'll half let myself get smacked by people until I snap out of it into the 5 type mentality, which, numerology is Mars we got there, and fighter, acceleration, and change, and finally punch back. But the person of the 6 mentality has a lot of faith and doesn't want to harm anything, and very difficult to anger. So it's a 5 type, difficult to anger, but more likely to react to something that finally makes them angry. So I know I can't be mad at you because you were being manipulated to do this, but let's just say we were manipulating back. I guess we, the Arcturians, and all Astral Command people, they were manipulating back, and they were planning on things looking like this so that we could sneak everything through the system. So you actually played the role of a valiant spy who has suffered greatly, and I hope that you are healed, and I believe a lot of that will come with either seeing Bridget heal or letting her go. But you'd probably be very unwilling to do that. I don't know what could have happened with since Vermont was such a heavy area and you're next to Montreal and everything. I don't know exactly what the heck you guys ended up doing over there. I would assume it's pretty crazy though, because next to Montreal. Oh man. And like border Canada stuff. So and in the middle of nowhere where nobody can escape. Yeah. So I'll simply finish my thank you, and I hope that you are doing well, that you continue to go about your path however you can best go about it, because as we can see, the whole like me dying thing, it doesn't really, no, it doesn't work. So now that I am, well, as he says in both this book and actually in book 12, so I know that it is actually a real term that he uses, quote, graduate status. Apparently I'm entering the graduate status that he talks about. So that's all. I wouldn't have any of that without your altruism to give me this book, even though you were trying to do it on purpose to mess with me. But you were being manipulated to mess with me, so you see how I'm not angry over that. And Kryon says that too. When you get to this level, you can be confronted with things and just not react. So I've been having to work on that quite a bit, to not react to everybody outside trying to hex me and stuff, or whatever demonic weird stuff. And I would hope with you and your faith that you would have realized, wait, something doesn't seem right if you're doing that and everything sucks and Bridget was dying and all of that. If you were worshiping a particular god, even if you thought it was God of the Bible, well, most of the Bible is actually channeled by Satan. Most of the Bible is channeled by Satan, and the safe parts are mostly the Gospels and the letters of Paul, even though they've been edited, but they're the far safer of the whole Bible, just the 4 Gospels and the letters of Paul. And the book of Revelation is a total mishmash of mostly Satan talking, and then in the middle of it, there's Michael and Jesus trying to get their way through to John to tell him, hey, this is the one with the double-edged sword. You know who that is? That's Michael. And this is the Lamb. Now who's that? That's Jesus. So, in the beginning of Revelation, they're the letters to the church in Smyrna, letters to the church in Philadelphia, letters to the church in wherever, and it's those 2 ones where I am the one with the double-edged sword, Michael, and I am the Lamb. anyone who has like eyes of fire or tongue of fire or anything like that, any imagery right like that refers directly to Satan. That's, yeah, if you are still if you can still consider yourself human, or a free human in any capacity, you may not know about that. And the lake of fire and burning sulfur. So fire should not get associated with God. Whenever fire is associated with the word God, it's code for Satan. The Bible is basically half written in code, and Paul even does this too. I realized this in the prison, because Paul was in prison. And I realized, wait, Paul is writing this just like me in the freaking prison over Jesus. He says the dogs repeatedly, watch out for the dogs. And then he actually talks to the dog and says, you guys, you didn't do this in a corner. You can't keep this a secret. And who is he referring to? He's referring to another race. And I realized, oh my gosh, wait, Paul actually knew about that. Like he was one of the people that knew. Because when he says watch out, like stay away from the dogs, or watch for the dogs, or that the dogs are coming, he uses the code dogs. And the reptilians would use that code amongst themselves, saying the word dog, like dog, star, Sirius, to refer to themselves. And that's how I saw, like I would see it in there, and wait, wow, Paul knew this stuff. Wow. And yes, Jesus was half Pleiadian. If you're still fond of reading your Bible. So, ditch the Old Testament for the most part. Go to the New Testament. That's where you want to be. Because if people are envious of me right now and wondering, how is she free and not getting told and jerked around, do stuff, while I'm like on a little leash? How is she doing that? The main way I am doing that is with what you would call the Word of God, but with the true word of the source, light, love, energy. So I said this would be short. I was trying to make this shorter. So basically, Kryon actually says this in book 1. He says you guys should go back and read the words of Jesus in this book. This would be a good time to go and re-examine them. Or read them again with a new perspective, like he's saying, hey, like, hint, hint. And then what does he say? Yeah, Tom, you're smart, numerology. He says, if you want to know about me, 11 will tell you about my character, and 33 will tell you about my service, and that's all he'll say. So there's some connections there with Kryon and the Bible. I do believe it kind of seems that way. And it's the linkage between him and how much he talks about the Bible, or how he'll have me kind of talk like I'm reciting scripture or something like that. The whole biblical kind of nature of it. It does seem very much like the Bible, and I was raised Christian, probably just as you were. So don't lose hope. Don't lose hope. And the universe loves you, because you did something amazing without knowing you were doing it, just like I did, kind of without really knowing that I was doing it. Though I did know that I was trying to stop something, but I didn't quite know that I was actually really doing it. I just knew that I wanted to stop something. So I'll say again, thank you so much for book 1. That was really awesome. And I wish you lots of peace and love, and hopefully light if it's something that you can tolerate. Blessings.